What if every human being could see the exact moment of their death, etched into their vision like a countdown clock, but without knowing the cause or context? The first time it happened, the world stopped. People froze in the middle of streets, offices, and homes, their eyes wide with disbelief. The numbers appeared in the corner of everyone's vision, glowing faintly like a hologram that couldn't be blinked away. For some, the countdown showed decades. For others, mere hours. The numbers didn't discriminate. They were impartial, unyielding, and absolute. Maya stood in her kitchen, a mug of coffee slipping from her hand and shattering on the floor. Her countdown read, 12 years, 4 months, 6 days, 3 hours, 22 minutes, and 11 seconds. She stared at the numbers, her breath shallow, her heart pounding. 12 years. That was all she had left. She was 28. She'd be 40 when it happened. The world erupted into chaos. Governments scrambled to explain the phenomenon. Scientists theorized about its origins, and religious leaders proclaimed it a divine reckoning. But no one could turn it off. No one could change it. The numbers were immutable, a constant reminder of the finite nature of existence. At first, Maya tried to ignore it. She went to work, met friends for drinks, and tried to live as she always had. But the numbers were always there, ticking down second by second. She found herself calculating the time she had left, obsessing over how to spend it. Should she quit her job and travel the world? Should she settle down and start a family? Should she chase her childhood dream of becoming a painter? The questions gnawed at her, but it wasn't until she met Daniel that she began to see the numbers differently. Daniel was a barista at the cafe near her apartment. His countdown read, 3 days, 14 hours, 7 minutes, and 48 seconds. Maya noticed it the moment she walked in. She couldn't help but stare, her stomach twisting with dread. 3 days. That was all he had left. "What can I get you?" he asked, his voice warm and steady, as if he didn't have a care in the world. Maya hesitated. "A latte, please." As he prepared her drink, she couldn't take her eyes off him. He was young, maybe 25, with a mop of curly brown hair and a smile that lit up the room. How could someone so full of life have so little time left? "Here you go," he said, handing her the latte. "Thank you," she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. She came back the next day, and the day after that. Each time, she watched the numbers tick down, her heart aching with a strange mix of sorrow and fascination. On his last day, she sat at a corner table, sipping her coffee and stealing glances at him. He was laughing with a coworker, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "Hey," he said, approaching her table. "You've been here every day this week. Do you live nearby?" Maya nodded, her throat tight. "Yeah, just around the corner." "Cool. I'm Daniel, by the way." "Maya." "Nice to meet you, Maya." He smiled, and for a moment, she forgot about the numbers. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Daniel's countdown reached 0. Maya was there when it happened. He was closing up the cafe, humming a tune under his breath, when he suddenly clutched his chest and collapsed. She rushed to his side, her hands trembling as she called for help, but it was too late. The paramedics arrived within minutes, but Daniel was gone. Maya sat on the curb outside the cafe, her mind reeling. She had known it was coming, but nothing could have prepared her for the reality of it. In the days that followed, Maya couldn't stop thinking about Daniel. She replayed their conversations in her mind, wondering if she could have done something to change the outcome. But the numbers were absolute. They didn't account for chance or intervention. They simply were. As the weeks turned into months, Maya began to notice something strange. People were living differently now. Some, like Daniel, embraced the time they had left, living with a reckless abandon that bordered on self-destruction. Others became paralyzed by fear, retreating into themselves and avoiding anything that might hasten their end. Maya fell somewhere in between. She quit her job and started painting again, something she hadn't done since college. She reconnected with old friends and made new ones. She even went on a few dates, though the thought of falling in love with someone whose countdown might be shorter than hers terrified her. One day, as she was walking through the park, she saw a little girl playing on the swings. The girl's countdown read, 70 years, 2 months, 15 days, 8 hours, 45 minutes, and 12 seconds. Maya stopped in her tracks, her chest tightening. 70 years. The girl had her whole life ahead of her, and yet, in the grand scheme of things, it was just a blip. Maya sat on a bench and watched the girl, her mind racing. The numbers had changed everything, but they hadn't changed the fundamental truth of existence. Life was fleeting, and all anyone could do was make the most of the time they had. She thought about Daniel, about the way he had smiled even as his countdown ticked away. He had lived fully, right up until the end, and maybe that was the point. Maya stood up and walked over to the swings. The little girl looked up at her, her eyes wide with curiosity. "Hi," Maya said, smiling. "Can I push you?" The girl nodded, and Maya gave her a gentle push, sending her soaring into the air. As the girl laughed, Maya felt something shift inside her. The numbers were still there, ticking down in the corner of her vision, but they didn't feel like a burden anymore. They were a reminder to live, to love, to make every moment count. And for the first time in a long time, Maya felt at peace.